once you engage in this humble, simple practice of just remembering that you have a body and that you're in a body, you land in all these spaces where you're considering time and mortality and belonging and power and identity and all of these things, meaning. It just blows my mind. It really blows my mind. Sometimes I wonder, how did I even get here? But then I realize I've always been interested in these strands and elements in some way, in the sense that I've always been interested in the unspoken and unspeakable, seemingly invisible but felt elements of life. I was one of those kids growing up that heard that I was sensitive. All kinds of different people told me, oh, you're so sensitive. And it seemed like a burden because I was easily bruised throughout my life, emotionally, just very easily bruised. And as an adult, what I learned about that is that I'm responsible for tending to those bruises. Someone else may go, I didn't mean that, or, oh, you're so sensitive. I didn't mean that. Okay, but ow. Ow. So my favorite example is if you run over my foot and you didn't mean it, I still have to go to the hospital, So whether or not I'm sensitive, I still have to tend to myself. But what I'm realizing now is that in that sensitivity, there are gifts. And that's why, for me, an embodiment practice has become so transformational. It has oriented me in a way that really gives my life meaning. Or, better said, makes me aware of the meaning of my life, because my life has always had meaning. Sometimes the cultural and societal narratives encourage me to forget that I matter, that I actually am real, that I exist, and that there's a place for me. Being in my body reminds me that there is a place for me and that fact is indisputable, because I am here, because I exist. Like I said, whether or not someone else wants me to be here or wants me to exist, I'm still here. And this warm, I want to say compassionate, but that may not be the word. But this warm, loving, kind connection that I'm developing with myself through an embodiment practice is giving me an awareness of that irrefutable element of my existence. I'm here, period. I'm here. That's where we begin. So there's a lot less scratching, scraping, defending, and more inhabiting and being and recognizing and realizing. And I imagine that this is what it feels like to have power. There have been people in history who, well, it's really Harriet Tubman. She's the one. She's always the one I'm thinking of. But to be fair, she wasn't the only one. But she is like the archetype for me and for so many other Black women. But she is the archetype of something beyond what she's known for. Like, yes, she's known for her strength and the fact that she was this tiny person physically, but just so just undeniable, and I don't even have words for her courage, for her creativity, for her intellect, for her faith, for her just indisputable nature. But what I really hold dear about Harriet Tubman these days is the way that she expressed power inside of a system that denied her power and humanity. So she was doing a real both and. She was pressing into the moment in a very specific way. She was putting her imprint, her fingerprint on the moment, a moment that said, no, you're not a person. No, you don't belong. No, you don't have the right to exist, to breathe, and nor do your family members and loved ones. None of you are human. None of you have a right to be here. And she pulled up this I don't know if insistence is the right word, but she just pulled up this beingness and said, and just pressed her being into the moment. And in doing so, she opened this experience of possibility for herself and others. This is what I would call mindset, body set, being set. You know, it wasn't just positive thinking. It was physically moving through the swamps and the woods and the water. And it was conceiving of a way of being. And it was dealing with social constructs that were enforced by and with violence. You know, what does it mean to take people to freedom? This is a field. Half of the field is in the slave territories, and half of the field is in a free territory. Looking at this field, it's just a field. But the rules of human behavior enforced by humans who are complicit in these systems the rules say, if you're on this side of the field, I can drag you away, deny your personhood, deny your humanity, kill you, beat you, rape you, sell you. But if you're on the other side of the field, ostensibly, I'm not allowed to do those things to you. She was navigating that. She was navigating that. So it's mindset, body set, being set. It's just the depth of being, the depth of humanity, the depth of power, the depth of intentionality, the depth of sight, of insight, of communicating with the upper realms, you know? I am blown away by her story, and I am inspired by her life. And I can see echoes of her story in the stories of so many Black women. Wow. Wasn't planning to talk about that, but again, that's kind of what embodiment is like. It's embodiment takes you into yourself. Embodiment takes you into yourself and through yourself and your lineage and your own history, your own story, your own experience of being on the planet in a body. It's remarkable. It's really, really remarkable. I talked for a lot longer than I had planned, but I just feel compelled to add my voice to the greater conversation about embodiment because I've been doing an embodiment practice every day for going on 4 years. And when I talk about it, when I do my practices, when I relax my body, when I record my podcast, it just pulls me more and more and more deeply into this rich, textured experience of being alive. My embodiment practice awakens an experience of aliveness and vitality, not because I followed steps. It's just where you go. It's just where you end up.